we're going to do, and on this one I'm going to do holly. So here is some that I made up earlier. As usual, I've got all my bits and pieces, so I'm not going to make loads of leaves and loads of berries to show you how they're done. I'll just show you a couple, and then we can get on with putting this together. Just broken the leaf off there, but never mind. So we'll just get rid of that out of the way. These are the cutters that I used to make all my holly leaves, and these are the veiners. As far as I can remember, I think these are Great Impression veiners. The cutters are from Framar Cutters. You can only buy these through a Sugarcraft shop that sells metal cutters, so you can't buy these direct, whereas with the Great Impression veiners you can go direct with those. I'm not sure about Alderval. I'll have to ring him up and have a word with him and see if you can go direct, but if not, you can get them on eBay. There is a supplier on there that does the full range of their veiners. So I'm only using two colours of paste. For the leaves I'm using the green. I only use one green, I never use any different greens. The one I've used for this is Sugar Flare Christmas Green to make the green leaves. Now I've done it darker than normal because they are a very dark leaf, and then I've dusted them with a colour called Rainforest. So in order to make the leaves, usual way of cutting out leaves, I'm only going to do a couple of leaves because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Most of it is on the colouring and assembly. Just put those up there. Bit of white fat on your board. I've got hair there, we'll just get rid of that. Sliding around, I think I've got a bit too much fat on. Don't get too much fat on your board. You want it so that your paste stays attached to the board until you finish rolling out and cutting, because you can roll it a lot thinner. Although we don't want to go too thin with your paste for this, because they are leaves and leaves are more fleshy than petals. So I'm just going to cut out the big ones, and the reason I'm going to cut the big ones out is going to show you two ways that you can... Hang on, I haven't got my ridges, have I? That would help. Although I could get a wire into that, I don't expect you to be able to do that. Right, so I'll cut out one of those and we'll cut out a slightly smaller one, so that I can go over where I've just cut that other one out. We'll just cut one of each out. Just be careful when you're pulling your paste away that you don't stretch the points too much, otherwise your leaf is going to go completely out of shape. And I'm going to use a 26 gauge wire for these, because these are bigger. The smaller ones I used a 24 gauge wire. Now for the leaves, I'm cutting the wire into 4. Again, for those that haven't watched me, these are not normal scissors, these are florist scissors, which I can use to cut wires for cutting thick stems, so that's why I'm using those. I know some people panic, why is he using best scissors? Well, I'm not using best scissors. Right, so get the wire up your leaf. I always try and get the wire as far up the leaf or the petal as I can, just in case you break anything off, because it's a lot easier to repair it. The wire's right up to there, practically to the top. They're a lot easier to repair if you break something, if it's on the wire, rather than when it's broken off, because it's very difficult to repair it and find somewhere to put it where it's not going to move and break off again. There we are. That's the two leaves there. We'll just put those wires to one side. thin your edges. Just be careful here when you're doing this. You can, for the next step that I'm going to do, which is optional, stretch your points a little bit if you want. And the reason why I'm going to show you this, as I say, is optional. I haven't done it on all my leaves because I had a lot of leaves to do. But if you want to make your leaves really pointed like a proper holly leaf, then you just pinch the edge of your leaves like that, which is very difficult to do on the small ones, so this is optional to get a really pointed Now you could do this after you've put it in the verner, but I'm just doing that just to show you so that you can get the point on it. And for this one I'm going to put that one into the larger verner of these. These come in a set of 2. I'm just going to bend that round a little bit because it has got a slight curve on it, on that one. Pop your top on, give it a good press, and then shape your leaf ready to go onto your foam to dry. So then you end up with a leaf shaped like this. This is a dry one that I've done. So I'll just go through that again. This time I'm going to put it in before I pinch the edges, just to show you both ways. Make sure you've got your top the right way up, because from the back they look the right way up and you can end up being the wrong way up if you're not careful. And then just pinch your edges. It'll be a lot easier for anybody that's got small fingers, like the ladies out there that are watching. With us fellas it's a bit more difficult because we're a bit ham-fisted with having thick fingers. You could use a pair of tweezers if you've get used to using that, you know. There we are. And then just give it a shape and then into your foam. Right, so that's done. Now you would think when you're making the berries it's just a matter of getting a round ball of paste on a wire. Well, you're not far wrong there, but when you're doing the berries, and this will come into the next one that I'm doing when I do the mistletoe, I'm using a 32 gauge wire here. You can use either a 30 or a 32 gauge wire, whatever you've got. I do cut these into much shorter lengths as well, so I'm cutting that in half. Then cut your 2 halves into 3, because you don't need a long wire on these. You just need a wire so you can attach it to whatever you're doing. So the first thing to do is to put a hook on your wires. Now the easiest way to do it, if you can get all your wires together, just dropped one there. Where's that? Come here. Gone. If you get all your wires together, get all your tops level like that. Particularly with the thinner wires it's quite easy, and then do all your hooks in one go. Saves a lot of messing about. You've got all your wires ready then. Right. Now then, the colour that I've used for this, you need one of the extra strength colours from Sugar Flare, and this is the extra red, which comes in a bigger pot than your normal colours. I don't find my pot. There it is. There we are. Comes in a much bigger pot. It is more expensive. This was £6.09 was this one, from a Sugarcraft shop. It depends on the shop, the area that you're in, and what the shops sell. But I've tried a lot of the extra strength red ones. The normal red ones are no good. They come out orangey. They're no good at all for doing a red. You need the extra strength. I found that Sugar Flare, and I've tried a few, is the best one. And it does come out the colour that I want it to do. And when these are being glazed, when it's dried and glazed, it comes out a deeper red like that. Now what you can do with your berries, which I haven't done because I've got enough red in for mine, but like a lot of things, there are a lot of different varieties in holly. The one I've got in my garden doesn't have the points on the leaves like this one does, but it has, this year it's got plenty of berries on it anyway, so the birds are going to have a field day. So start off with a small bowl of paste, and you can vary the size of these. Get your wire into your berry like that, pull your wire down and pull it down until you can just see the top of the wire like that. You need to see the top because that's where the flowers come off, and you get this little green bit on the top there like that. So then you put those to one side to dry. So I'll just get rid of that one, and we'll get rid of the paste. I'm not going to do loads of berries because I've already got all my berries made anyway, so just to speed things up a little bit. So we'll get on to the colouring and varnishing. So we'll just get those bits and pieces out of the way. As I say, the colour that I've used for colouring is Rainforest from Edible Art. Any dark green, the darkest green you can get. But it needs to be a green rather than a bluey green, because some of them have got more blue in and they look a bit odd. Then get your leaves. I've got 3 here that I've left to colour. So dust all over your leaf with the green. The reason why I dust the green leaves, although it looks as though it's not making a lot of difference, it is making a difference, but the reason being, when I come to varnish the leaves, what it does, it pushes the powder into the veins and makes them stand out a little bit more when you varnish, which you will see when I varnish these. So I'll just finish dusting those, and then just give it a waft over the back, just with a little bit like that. That one's bent, that hasn't dried properly, without putting any more powder on your brush, because the backs of the leaves are always lighter than the fronts, and they're also dull as well. We don't varnish the backs on them either. The only time the backs get varnished is when we're doing a leaf that hasn't got as much shine on it, and we use either a half glaze or a quarter glaze, but I'm using full glaze for this because they are very shiny. So we'll get those. We've got a dry berry here, it's already dried, and what I'm going to do is, with the berry, just get the glaze, pop your berry into the glaze like that. Now if you wanted a darker colour, you could dust this with probably either a very deep red or a burgundy colour if you want a darker berry, depending on what sort of effect you want to get. They're your holly leaves, so your holly, so you do them whichever way you want to do them. I'm just giving you an idea. I do sometimes dust them if I haven't got enough red. If it's not deep enough, then I will dust it. A cheap brush, never use decent brushes, and then varnish all over your leaves with the glaze. Now the way that we used to do it before we had the glazes was to steam. To do holly leaves, you'd have to steam them, let them dry, steam them, let them dry, and keep on steaming them until you build up the shine that you want. Don't try and keep steaming them straight away, because it will soften your paste and they'll go out of shape and you'll spoil the whole effect. It does dry fairly quickly, does this, but these will be the last ones that I use anyway. Right, so we'll just leave those to dry. It does dry very quickly, does the varnish. So, and don't forget, as soon as you've finished, clean your brush. Keep some of the isopropyl to one side and just keep it just for cleaning your brushes in. It looks a yucky colour, but that's because I use it just for cleaning brushes in, to get rid of all the varnish off, because otherwise your brushes will go rock hard if you don't do that. Right, that's just started drying already. You can see it dulling down a little bit at the bottom there. Just get rid of that out of the way. That can go in the bin. And I've got all my leaves here that I'd already made. Just put those larger ones in with the large ones, and that one belongs with that there, I think, does it? Yeah. You just sort them all out into whatever size leaves you're going to put together. They come in pairs. When you're making your leaves, make sure that you do whatever sizes you're doing, that you do 2 of each. There might be some ones that I've got an odd one because I have broken a few. Like I keep saying to people, things do go wrong, so don't worry about it if it does. We're not all perfect. Right, so what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to get 20 gauge wire, which I've cut into 3. I'm going to use this now I'm just going to turn that up a little bit, just in case, stop me from going out of shot while I'm doing this, because I do have a habit of going out of shot and I can't watch the screen and watch what I'm doing at the same time. So start off your tape on your wrong side. There's always one side that's a bit stickier on this stem text, so if you just find out which side is stickiest, nip it in with your nail like that onto your wire and then just roll it like that. Right, then when you've done that, you want 2 leaves in right at the very top of the smallest ones. There are different in the range from oh, we've got one that's broken there, never mind, we'll do that, we'll get rid of that one. See what I mean about things breaking? Just because I've been doing it a long time doesn't mean to say that things don't go wrong. So I'll just come back up with that tape and back down again. Obviously didn't get that one on right, did I? Right, another 2 small leaves in. Now they go the opposite way round, so if you look at a stem, you've got 2 going one way and then 2 going the other way. And if I've got a spare one, I can go back and replace that one. I'll just take that apart before we do the arrangement. Now if you find that your leaves are moving about, make sure that you pull your wires down while you can get hold of the bottom of them, just to make sure they're in tight, because that will stop them from moving around. Oops. Start it off again. There we are. Pull your wires in, make sure they're tight, and then tape down. I'm making this one slightly longer because this will go in at the back of my arrangement. These will go to that side. You can sort out your position of your leaves once you've got them all in. Don't worry if they're moving around a bit, because once we've got them in, we can sort out to make sure that they stay where we want them to be. I'm just going to come back up with that actually. I'll just tape down and then come back up again. The reason I'm coming back up is because I'm going to put some berries in there, so I'm going to open these 2 leaves out the way that I want them to open, there, that way. Okay, and I'm going to get some berries and put them in. Just put a couple of berries in at this stage. Make sure that your berries come right down to the leaves. So what I'll do is I'll put them in at first, then just get your wires and then just pull them down like that. There's the other one there. And then tape down. We're having a good year for berries, so I'm going to put quite a few berries in here. So then on to your next size of leaves. They're going to go in that way. One there. and one that side. Pull your wires down, tape down a little bit, then tape back up again to put your berries in. Open your leaves out like that, and then I'm going to put a couple of berries in at that side. And then put another berry in at the other side. They sort of grow around the stem, they don't grow all on one side, so try and make them look as natural as you can. If you've got some holly growing near you in the hedgerows or in your garden or anywhere, go out and have a look at it and see what it looks like. The best way to get an idea is to actually look at an actual plant. There we are, that's it, tape down with those. And I've got a couple more of the same size leaves to put in. One, two, then back up again to put some berries in. Open those out. I always usually put odd numbers in, apart from those two I've put at the top, because generally a lot of things in nature tend to grow in odd numbers, so try and keep to that rule if you can. You could put 5 in if you wanted to, but it might be a little bit crowded with 5 in, although in nature you probably might find that they do have so many berries in on a good year. As I say, it depends on the variety and how good they are. Apparently you get more berries on things like holly and that on a year when it's going to be really, really cold. So that the birds have got something to eat in the cold, really cold weather. There's a tip of information for you. I'm getting towards the end of the time on my video here. I'm just watching the time a bit, so what I'm going to do is I will put all this together, and then when I come to do the arrangement, when I've done all the other bits and pieces, then I can show you, because you've already seen a piece that I've already got made up anyway. We've got one there that hasn't got any leaves off of it, so I will carry on, and I will get these bigger leaves in to do a bigger stem of this. You could do an offside stem and do shorter ones and put them together if you wanted to. That's another thing that you can do. So I'm just going to leave that at that and just come back up and put some more berries in there. You could leave a row of leaves and not put any berries in it if you wanted to, because you don't necessarily have to have them in between every leaf. Just going to put a couple in there. That one. And then just carry on until you've got all your leaves in, making sure that they're all alternate ways round. So that wants to come round there, and that goes round there. That goes that way. They go that way. Then we'll open those out and open those out at the top there. So there we are, that's the stem of holly. So we'll leave it at that, and in the next video then I'll show you how to make the mistletoe to go in the arrangement. And as I said, I'm possibly going to come back and do some Callicarpa berries as well. They look nice because you just get the berries on the stems, and for doing woody twigs and things like that, it's a good idea. That'll give you some ideas for that sort of effect. So that's it for now. Hope you enjoy it. So enjoy, stay safe, and have a good day.